The massive alien ship appeared above Earth's orbital station like a dark cloud blocking the sun. Commander Kim Day watched from the observation deck as the vessel slowly moved closer. It was bigger than any human-made structure, its black surface covered with strange symbols that seemed to glow with their own light. "Sir, they're requesting permission to dock," said Lieutenant Park Hana from her position at the communications console. Her voice was steady, but Kim Day could see the tension in her shoulders. "Grant it," Kim Day replied calmly. He adjusted his uniform and checked his appearance in the reflection of the window. Today would be remembered in human history, one way or another. The alien delegation arrived exactly 1 hour later. Kim Day, Dr. Park Hana, and Captain Lee Wan waited in the main conference room. The doors opened with a soft hiss, and the aliens entered. The first alien was tall and covered in dark green scales. Its yellow eyes looked like those of a snake, and when it moved, Kim Day could hear the soft scraping of scales against the metal floor. Behind it came a creature that looked like it was made of living crystal. Light passed through its body, creating rainbow patterns on the walls. "I am Vorthak Prime Commander Seth." The reptilian alien spoke through a translation device attached to its throat. "This is Nexari Collective Speaker Zephyr. We represent the Galactic Coalition of 12 worlds." Kim Day smiled and stepped forward. "Welcome to Earth Station Alpha. I am Commander Kim Day. This is Dr. Park Hana, our Chief Science Officer, and Captain Lee Wan, our Defense Coordinator. Please, have a seat." The aliens looked at each other. The crystal being's body flashed with different colors, which Kim Day guessed was some form of communication. The reptilian alien's tongue flicked out briefly before it spoke again. "We did not come for pleasantries, human. We come with a message from the Coalition." "Of course," Kim Day said, still smiling. "We're happy to listen to anything you have to say. Would you like some refreshments? We have water or perhaps something from your home worlds." Dr. Park Hana stepped forward slightly. "We've studied the atmospheric requirements of both Vorthak and Nexari worlds. We can provide suitable refreshments if you'd prefer." The crystal alien's body flashed red for a moment. "You have studied our worlds?" "Only what's available in public galactic databases," Dr. Park Hana replied cheerfully. "We find other cultures fascinating. It's wonderful to finally meet representatives in person." Commander Seth's yellow eyes narrowed. "Humans, you have expanded too quickly across this region of space. In 50 of your years, you have established colonies on 47 worlds. This expansion concerns the Coalition." Captain Lee Wan leaned back in his chair. "We've been careful to avoid any claimed territories. Every world we've settled was uninhabited and not marked as belonging to any Coalition member." "That is not the issue," the crystal being said. Its voice sounded like wind, chimes in a gentle breeze. "The issue is the speed of your expansion and your potential threat to galactic stability." Kim Day nodded thoughtfully. "I understand your concern. Rapid growth can sometimes appear threatening to neighbors. What would the Coalition like us to do?" "You will abandon all colonies beyond your home system," Commander Seth said. "You will recall all human ships, stations, and populations to the Sol system. You will cease all expansion activities." "That's quite a significant request," Kim Day said, his smile never wavering. "May I ask what happens if we decline?" The reptilian alien's scales seemed to darken. "Then the Coalition will remove you from those worlds by force. We have fleets positioned throughout this sector. Our combined military power includes over 10,000 warships and support vessels." Dr. Park Hana looked genuinely curious. 10,000 ships? That's impressive. What types of vessels are we talking about? I'd love to learn more about Coalition military technology. The crystal alien's body flashed several colors rapidly. "You ask about our military capabilities while we threaten you?" "Knowledge is always valuable," Dr. Park Hana replied. "Even in difficult situations, there's usually something interesting to learn." Commander Seth stood up abruptly. "Humans, You do not seem to understand the seriousness of this situation. The Coalition has decided that your species represents a potential threat to galactic peace. We are offering you the chance to retreat peacefully to your home system. Kim Day also stood, extending his hand toward the alien commander. We appreciate the offer, Commander Seth. However, I think there might be some misunderstanding about human intentions. We're explorers and traders, not conquerors. Your intentions matter less than your capabilities, the crystal being said. A species that can expand so rapidly could become aggressive just as quickly. Captain Lee Wan smiled. So you're saying that because we're good at building colonies, you think we'll become good at destroying them? Exactly. That's an interesting perspective, Captain Lee Wan said. I can see how that might worry you. Kim Day returned to his seat and gestured for the aliens to do the same. Let me make sure I understand correctly. The Coalition is concerned about human expansion and wants us to return to our home system. If we refuse, you'll use military force to make us comply. That is correct. And this decision is final? There's no room for negotiation or compromise? Commander Seth's tongue flicked out again. The Coalition has debated this matter for many cycles. The decision is final. Kim Day looked at his colleagues, then back at the aliens. His smile grew slightly wider. In that case, I believe the Coalition is formally declaring war on humanity. If you refuse our terms, yes. Then we accept. The aliens stared at him. The crystal being's body went completely transparent for a moment before returning to its normal state. You accept? Commander Seth asked. We accept your declaration of war, Kim Day said pleasantly. We appreciate the clarity. It's always better when everyone understands the situation completely. Dr. Park Hana pulled out a small recording device. Would it be possible to get that declaration in writing, or at least recorded officially? We like to keep good records of important events. The reptilian alien looked at the crystal being, who flashed several colors. You want us to provide written documentation of our war declaration? If it's not too much trouble, Kim Day said. We understand if Coalition procedures don't require it, but it would help us with our own record-keeping. Commander Seth spoke into a small device attached to his wrist. A few moments later, a metal tablet appeared from somewhere in his equipment. He pressed several spots on its surface, and symbols appeared. This is the official Coalition declaration of military action against the human species, he said, sliding the tablet across the table. It details our demands and the consequences of non-compliance. Dr. Park Hana picked up the tablet and examined it carefully. This is wonderful craftsmanship. Is this Vorthak technology or a Coalition standard? It is standard Coalition military documentation, the crystal being replied, sounding confused. Kim Day stood up again. Thank you both for coming all this way to deliver this message personally. We'll make sure to respond appropriately to your declaration. The aliens left the station an hour later. As soon as their ship was clear of Earth space, Kim Day activated the emergency communication system. This is Commander Kim Day to all Earth colonies and defense stations, he said into the microphone. War declaration received and accepted. Activate Smile Protocol immediately. Thank you for the clarification. Captain Lee Wan watched the alien ship disappear into hyperspace. Do you think they suspect anything? Dr. Park Hana was still examining the alien tablet. They're curious about our reactions, but I don't think they understand what they just did. Kim Day looked out at the stars. They gave us exactly what we needed, a formal declaration with a clear timeline. Now we can stop pretending to be harmless explorers. How long until the Coalition fleets arrive? Captain Lee Wan asked. According to their own tactical information, about 28 days, Kim Day replied. More than enough time. Dr. Park Hana smiled as she continued studying the alien technology. I wonder if they'll still be curious about human culture after they see what we're really like. The three humans began making preparations for humanity's response to the galaxy's declaration of war. Admiral Song Ji stood in the center of the hidden command room, 300 meters below the surface of Luna. The massive screens around her showed star maps, ship positions, and communication channels that most humans didn't know existed. For the past 70 years, this facility had been preparing for exactly this moment. "Admiral, all stations are reporting green across the board," said Engineer Choi Bo from his position at the central console. His fingers moved quickly across holographic displays, checking systems that had been waiting decades to be activated. "Excellent," Admiral Song Ji replied. "What's our current fleet status?" 2,437 ships ready for immediate deployment. Another 800 completing final preparations. All crews have been activated from their civilian positions. Intelligence Officer Yu Na looked up from her communications station. "Admiral, we're receiving confirmation signals from all colony. Worlds. The Smile Protocol is fully active. Our people are in position." Admiral Song Ji nodded. She had spent most of her adult life preparing for this day. Like many humans in key positions, her official job was completely different from her real one. To the galaxy, she was simply a logistics coordinator for Earth's merchant fleet. In reality, she was the supreme commander of humanity's true military force. "Show me the coalition fleet positions," she ordered. The main screen changed to display the local sector of space. Red dots appeared, showing coalition ships moving toward human colonies. There were many of them, just as Commander Seth had promised. But Admiral Song Ji wasn't worried. She was excited. "They're following standard coalition attack patterns," Engineer Choi Bo observed. "Just like our simulations predicted." "Of course they are," Yu Na said with a smile. "We helped design those patterns." The coalition had no idea that for the past century, humans had been working inside their military structure. Every major battle the coalition had fought, every tactical manual they used, every piece of strategic doctrine they followed had been influenced by human advisors. Humans who smiled and offered helpful suggestions while carefully building weaknesses into coalition military thinking. "Any word from our people embedded in their fleets?" Admiral Song Ji asked. "All reporting successful integration," Yu Na replied. "The coalition still thinks they're loyal crew members from allied species. Some of our agents have been promoted to senior positions." Admiral Song Ji walked to a smaller screen showing Earth's orbital stations. They looked normal, peaceful even. Cargo ships moved between them in regular patterns. To any observer, Earth appeared to be conducting business as usual. "What about the hidden shipyards?" she asked. Engineer Choi Bo pulled up another display. "All 7 facilities are operating at full capacity. The coalition knows about our 3 public shipyards, but they have no idea about the others." The hidden shipyards had been built inside hollowed-out asteroids, disguised as mining operations, and even constructed within the rings of gas giants. Each one had been producing warships for decades, using resources gathered through humanity's extensive trade network. "Our merchant fleet has been very busy," Admiral Song Ji said with satisfaction. "Yes, Admiral. Every trade route, every cargo delivery, every cultural exchange has been covering for military preparation. The coalition thinks humans are just enthusiastic traders who like to make friends." "Which we are," Yu Na added. "We just happen to be very good at making friends with useful people in useful places." Admiral Song Ji remembered her own early days in the program. She had been recruited as a young engineering student, approached by a professor who asked if she wanted to help ensure humanity's survival among the stars. At first, she thought it was a research project. Only later did she learn the true scope of what they were building. "Display the agent network," she requested. The screen filled with thousands of small green dots spread across coalition space. Each dot represented a human agent living and working in alien society. Some were diplomats and traders, which the coalition expected. Others were technicians, scientists, teachers, entertainers, and even janitors. All of them had been carefully placed and patiently gathering information. "Remarkable," Engineer Choi Bo said, though he had seen this display many times before. 40,000 active agents across 12 different species. And they all volunteered, Admiral Song-ji noted, with pride. Every single one chose to spend their lives far from Earth, pretending to be something they weren't, just to keep humanity safe. The agents had families, jobs, and entire lives in Coalition space. They had studied alien languages, customs, and cultures until they could blend in perfectly. Some had been undercover for so long that they had alien friends who considered them family. But when the Smile Protocol activated, every single agent had responded immediately. "What kind of intelligence are we receiving?" Admiral Song-ji asked. Na pulled up her latest reports. Complete tactical information on all Coalition fleet movements. Detailed specifications for every ship class they're using. Personal profiles of every major commander. Supply line data, communication codes, and even the psychological profiles of key decision-makers. The Coalition commanders still don't understand why their secret battle plans keep reaching us before they're even finalized, Engineer Choi Bo added with amusement. Speaking of which, Na said, we just received the complete Coalition invasion timeline. They plan to attack our outer colonies first, expecting us to retreat toward Earth. They want to herd us into the Sol system for a final battle. Admiral Song-ji smiled. It was the same expression Commander Kim Dae had worn when accepting the war declaration, but now it had a different meaning. Perfect. Let them think we're running scared. What about our special weapons? Engineer Choi Bo asked. All ready for deployment. Each Coalition species will face something specifically designed for them. The Vorthak won't know what hit them until their ship hulls start dissolving. The Nexari will discover that their crystal technology has some very interesting resonance frequencies. Admiral Song-ji had personally overseen the development of species-specific weapons. Every time a Coalition delegation had visited a human world, every cultural exchange and scientific collaboration had been an opportunity to study alien biology and technology. The aliens thought humans were simply curious and friendly. They never suspected that human scientists were cataloging weaknesses. Admiral, Na interrupted, we're receiving a transmission from the Coalition fleet. They're broadcasting a message to all human colonies. Let's hear it. The voice that came through the speakers belonged to Commander Seth. Human colonies, you have 26 days to evacuate your worlds and return to the Sol system. Any humans found outside your home system after that time will be considered hostile combatants. This is your final warning. Admiral Song-ji turned to her staff. Send a response to all human colonies. Tell them to appear frightened and begin. Evacuation preparations. Make sure the Coalition sees lots of civilian ships moving toward Earth. Already prepared, Admiral, Engineer Choi Bo said. Our civilian volunteers are ready to play their parts. The Coalition will think we're panicking. Excellent. And our military ships? All disguised as civilian vessels or hidden in predetermined locations. The Coalition's sensors will show exactly what we want them to see. Admiral Song-ji looked at the tactical display one more time. Coalition ships were moving confidently toward human space, following predictable patterns, using familiar strategies, and trusting equipment that humans had helped them design. They believed they were facing a primitive species that had grown too quickly and needed to be stopped. They had no idea they were walking into a trap that had been a century in the making. Gentlemen, Admiral Song-ji said, activate Phase 2 of the Smile Protocol. It's time to show the galaxy what human friendship really looks like. Engineer Choi Bo and Intelligence Officer Na exchanged glances. They had been waiting their entire careers for this moment. With pleasure, Admiral, they said together. Outside, Earth continued to appear peaceful and unprepared. But 300 meters below Luna's surface, humanity's true face was finally beginning to show. Captain Beck Min watched the Coalition fleet approach through her ship's sensors. The enemy vessels moved in perfect formation, their shields glowing with confidence. They had no idea that the silent thunder was less than 5 kilometers away, hidden inside what appeared to be a dead asteroid. Coalition fleet is maintaining standard approach pattern, reported Tactical Officer Nam Sol from her position at the weapons console. Just like our intelligence predicted. How many ships? Captain Beck Min asked. 47 Vorthak heavy cruisers, 23 Nexari crystal ships, and assorted support vessels. Exactly what our agents said would be in the first wave. Captain Bayek Min smiled. The Coalition thought they were attacking a lightly defended human mining colony. They expected to find a few security ships and maybe some automated defenses. Instead, they were about to discover what happened when humans had 70 years to prepare for war. Captain, Nam Sol continued, I'm detecting the colony's distress signals. Governor Xin Yu is playing his part perfectly. On the main screen, Captain Bak Min could see the human colony appearing to panic. Ships were launching from the surface in apparent confusion, civilians seemed to be evacuating in disorder, and the colony's defense platforms were powering up with obvious desperation. It was all an act. Governor Xin Yu had been preparing his people for this moment for years. Every civilian knew their role, every ship knew where to go, and every defense platform was hiding weapons the Coalition had never seen before. Coalition fleet is beginning. Their attack run, Nam Sol reported. They're targeting the defense platforms first. Captain Baek Min watched as the alien ships opened fire. Bright energy beams lanced out from the Vorthak cruisers, while the Nexari ships launched crystal projectiles that sparkled like deadly jewels in space. The colony's defense platforms exploded in spectacular fashion, creating clouds of debris and electromagnetic interference. To the Coalition, it looked like they were easily destroying human defenses. In reality, those platforms were designed to fail dramatically while releasing specially prepared surprises. Coalition ships are moving into the debris field, Nam Sol observed. Their shields are adapting to standard human weapons just as expected. Perfect, Captain Bayek Min said. Activate Phase 1. Nam Sol pressed a series of controls. Around the battle zone, dozens of objects that had appeared to be space junk suddenly came to life. Old cargo containers opened to reveal missile launchers. Disabled satellites began broadcasting jamming signals. Even pieces of destroyed defense platforms started emitting clouds of metallic dust. Coalition fleet is experiencing sensor interference, Nam Sol reported with satisfaction. They can't get clear readings on anything anymore. Captain Bayek Min had helped design this strategy. When humans appeared to retreat from a system, they always left behind what looked like normal space debris. The Coalition had learned to ignore these leftovers, thinking them harmless remnants of human occupation. They never suspected that every piece of junk was actually a weapon waiting to be activated. Their formation is breaking apart, Nam Sol continued. The Vorthak ships are trying to clear the interference while the Nexari vessels are attempting to re-establish communications. Time for Phase 2. Signal the colony. Down on the planet's surface, Governor Xin Yu received the signal and activated the real defenses. What the Coalition had destroyed were decoy platforms. The actual weapons had been hidden underground, in orbital factories disguised as research stations, and even inside the colony's water treatment facilities. Beams of coherent energy erupted from locations the Coalition hadn't even been scanning. The Vorthak ships found their shields failing as human weapons struck them with precisely the right frequency to disrupt their defensive systems. The Nexari vessels discovered that their crystal hulls were resonating at dangerous frequencies, causing internal damage. How are our special weapons performing? Captain Bak Min asked. Nam Sol checked her readings. Excellent results, Captain. The Vorthak hulls are showing signs of molecular degradation where our chemical weapons made contact. The Nexari ships are experiencing harmonic fractures in their crystal matrices. Captain Bak Min had been amazed when she first learned about humanity's species-specific weapons. For decades, human scientists had been studying samples of alien technology, supposedly for peaceful research purposes. Every trade agreement, every cultural exchange, every scientific collaboration had been an opportunity to learn how alien materials worked and how they could be destroyed. The Vorthak, who were so proud of their advanced metal alloys, had no idea that humans had developed compounds that could break down those same alloys at the molecular level. The Nexari, who built everything from living crystal, hadn't realized that humans had discovered the exact sound frequencies that could shatter their technology. Coalition fleet is requesting reinforcements, Nam Sol reported. They're also trying to withdraw to a safe distance. Not yet, Captain Bayek Min said. Signal all hidden units. Time for the full reveal. Across the star system, human ships that had been disguised as asteroids, space debris, and even disabled coalition vessels suddenly dropped their camouflage. The Silent Thunder emerged from its hiding place, along with 30 other ships that had been invisible moments before. But the biggest surprise came from the colony itself. The entire settlement began to transform. Buildings that had looked like simple residential structures opened to reveal manufacturing facilities. The colony's main spaceport split apart to expose a massive military base. Even the planet's 3 moons turned out to be artificial constructs hiding weapon platforms. Coalition. Fleet is in full retreat, Nam Sol announced. They're broadcasting emergency signals on all frequencies. Captain Bayek Min listened to the alien communications through her translator. The Coalition commanders were screaming orders in panic, demanding to know where all these human ships had come from. They couldn't understand how a primitive species had managed to hide such massive military installations. Should we pursue them, Captain? Nam Sol asked. No. Let them run. We want survivors to report what they saw. This was all part of the plan. Humanity didn't want to simply defeat the Coalition. They wanted to terrify them. Every battle was designed to show the aliens that they had completely misunderstood what humans were capable of. Damage report on Coalition forces? 60%. Casualties in the first wave. The survivors are badly damaged and fleeing toward Coalition space. Our own losses are minimal. Captain Bayek Min felt a moment of satisfaction. The Coalition had expected to face desperate humans armed with primitive weapons. Instead, they had encountered an enemy that knew everything about their technology, their tactics, and their weaknesses. Captain, we're receiving communications from other battle zones, Nam Sol reported. Similar results across all fronts. Coalition forces are retreating from every human colony they attacked. The reports came in from dozens of star systems. At Kepler Station, human miners had revealed themselves to be elite military units with advanced weapons. At New Sol Colony, the research facility had turned out to be a major military base. At every location the Coalition attacked, they found the same thing. Humans had been preparing for this war much longer than anyone imagined. What's our next phase? Nam Sol asked. Captain Bayek Min looked at the retreating Coalition ships on her screen. Now we follow them home. It's time to show the galaxy what human friendship really looks like when someone declares war on us. The Silent Thunder and her sister ships began moving toward Coalition space. Behind them, Governor Xin Yu was already rebuilding his destroyed colony, making it look even more innocent than before. The Coalition would eventually send scouts to investigate what had happened. When they arrived, they would find a peaceful, human settlement with no obvious military capabilities. The Coalition was beginning to learn that with humans, nothing was ever what it seemed to be. Their declaration of war had awakened something that had been hiding among the stars for decades, wearing a friendly smile while preparing for the day when that smile would be replaced by something much more dangerous. Captain Bayek Min settled into her command chair as her ship entered hyperspace. The real war was just beginning, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what they had been building, while everyone thought they were just harmless explorers looking for new friends. Ambassador Oh Kyung sat in the Coalition Council chambers, wearing the same friendly smile she had displayed for the past 15 years. Around her, alien representatives argued in panic as reports poured in from the failed attacks on human colonies. She listened carefully while appearing to take notes on her tablet, but she was actually coordinating humanity's next phase of operations. "The humans have hidden military capabilities far beyond our estimates," declared High Commander Vextar, a massive insectoid alien whose wings buzzed with agitation. "Our fleet suffered terrible losses. How did we not see this coming?" Ambassador Oh Kyung raised her hand politely. "If I may offer a perspective," she said in the gentle tone that had made her so popular among coalition diplomats, "perhaps we simply misunderstood human culture. Sometimes species develop differently than we expect." What none of them knew was that Ambassador Oh Kyung had spent her entire diplomatic career carefully shaping coalition intelligence about humanity. Every report about human peaceful expansion, every cultural analysis that described humans as harmless traders, every strategic assessment that labeled Earth as technologically inferior had been influenced by her careful suggestions and helpful corrections. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out in coalition facilities. Dr. Jang Yun, who had spent 20 years studying alien biology as a cultural anthropologist, was now coordinating the release of biological agents specifically designed for each coalition species. Captain Ryu Tae, whose merchant fleet had been carrying trade goods throughout coalition space, was activating hidden weapon caches that had been in place for decades. "The humans must have been planning this for generations," said Crystal Singer, Jara, her crystalline body flashing angry red colors. "How else could they have prepared such sophisticated defenses?" "Actually," Ambassador Oh Kyung said thoughtfully, "I think you might be giving humans too much credit. Earth's government only approved colonial expansion about 50 years ago. Before that, they were focused on their own solar system. This was technically true. What Oh Kyung didn't mention was that the colonial expansion had been the cover story for the largest intelligence operation in galactic history. Every human colony had been a military base from day one. Every trade ship had been a spy vessel. Every cultural exchange had been a reconnaissance mission. But their weapons," protested Commander Seth, his scales still showing signs of burns from the recent battle. "They knew exactly how to defeat our shields, how to damage our hulls. This level of knowledge takes decades to acquire." "Humans are very curious about technology," Oh Kyung replied helpfully. "Remember all those joint research projects we've had with them? They always ask so many questions about how things work." The coalition representatives looked at each other with growing horror. They were beginning to understand that every friendly interaction with humans had been something much more dangerous. "You mean," said High Commander Vextar slowly, "when human scientists visited our shipyards to learn about peaceful applications of our technology. They were studying how to destroy it," finished Crystal Singer Jara, her body turning a pale, shocked color. Ambassador Oh Kyung maintained her concerned expression while feeling deep satisfaction. The coalition was finally realizing what humanity had been doing all these years, but it was far too late to matter. "I'm sure that's not entirely accurate," she said gently. "Humans are naturally social creatures. When they're interested in someone, they want to learn everything about them. It's just their way of making friends." Across coalition space, other humans were having similar conversations. On SciFiPrime, Dr. Jang Eun was meeting with alien scientists who were trying to understand how their indestructible hull materials had dissolved so quickly in battle. "The compound the humans used," she explained to the panicking Vorthak, "researchers, appears to be based on a modified version of your own industrial cleaning solutions." Quite clever, really. What she didn't tell them was that she had spent 5 years working in Vorthak laboratories, supposedly researching peaceful applications of metallurgy. During that time, she had tested hundreds of chemical combinations, until she found exactly the right formula to break down Vorthak hull plating. The cleaning solution story was just a convenient lie. On Nixari Central, Captain Ryu Tae was explaining to coalition investigators how his trade goods had ended up being weapons caches scattered throughout their territory. "We always believed in the importance of cultural exchange," he said with apparent sincerity. Those containers held items we thought might be interesting to different species. Art, music, recreational equipment. We had no idea some of them could be used as weapons. The investigators didn't know that Captain Ryu Tai had been placing those cultural items for 30 years, carefully mapping every major coalition facility and positioning weapons exactly where they would do the most damage when activated. Back in the council chambers, the debate was growing more heated. Coalition military commanders were demanding immediate retaliation against human colonies, while others argued for attempting peace negotiations. We must strike back before they can organize further attacks, insisted High Commander Vextar. Every day we delay gives them more time to prepare. Prepare for what? Asked Crystal Singer Jara. We still don't know the full extent of their capabilities. What if they have more surprises waiting? Ambassador Oh Kyung leaned forward with apparent concern. Perhaps we should consider that humans might be willing to negotiate. They've always been reasonable in diplomatic situations. Reasonable? Commander Seth's voice rose to a hiss. They destroyed 60% of our first wave. They turned our own technology against us. You call this reasonable? Well, Oh Kyung said thoughtfully, you did declare war on them first. From a human perspective, they're probably just defending themselves. The coalition representatives stared at her. The idea that humans might consider their devastating counterattack as simple self-defense was almost too alien for them to process. Ambassador Oh Kyung, said High Commander Vexitar carefully, how long have you been stationed with the coalition? 15 wonderful years, she replied with a warm smile. I've learned so much about all of your cultures. It's been a privilege to serve as a bridge between humanity and the coalition. And in all that time, did you ever suspect that your people were preparing for war? Oh Kyung looked genuinely surprised. Preparing for war? I don't think humans were preparing for war at all. They were just being humans. This was perhaps the most terrifying thing any coalition representative had heard. The idea that humanity's devastating military capabilities were just their natural state, not special preparation for conflict, made them seem like an entirely different kind of threat. What do you mean by just being humans? Asked Crystal Singer Jara. Well, Oh Kyung explained patiently, humans are naturally curious, so they ask lots of questions. They're naturally social, so they make friends easily. They're naturally careful, so they like to have backup plans. And they're naturally protective of their families and communities. The coalition representatives were silent as they processed this information. What Oh Kyung was describing sounded like the behavior of apex predators who had learned to disguise their hunting instincts as social interaction. So when humans were making friends with us, Commander Seth said slowly, they were actually learning everything about you. Oh Kyung finished helpfully. But that's just because they were interested in being good friends. Humans believe you can't really care about someone unless you understand them completely. High Commander Vexitar's wings buzzed with agitation. And this understanding included learning how to kill us efficiently? Oh Kyung looked confused. I wouldn't put it quite like that. Humans just like to be prepared for different situations. It's not personal. The coalition was beginning to understand that they hadn't just declared war on another species. They had declared war on something that had been studying them with predatory patience while wearing the mask of friendship. Every smile, every helpful suggestion, every curious question had been part of a vast intelligence-gathering operation. Ambassador, asked Crystal Singer Jara quietly, what do humans want from us now? Oh Kyung smiled her warmest, most reassuring smile. The same thing they've always wanted, to be friends with everyone in the galaxy. Somehow, that was the most frightening answer of all. President Lim Su walked into the Coalition Council chambers with the same warm smile that had made her popular during her years as Earth's chief diplomat. Behind her came Admiral Song Ji, no longer hiding her military rank, and Dr. Park Hana, who had traded her science officer uniform for formal diplomatic attire. The coalition representatives sat in stunned silence. 3 months of war had cost them 60% of their combined fleets, dozens of strategic facilities, and their confidence in everything they thought they knew about humans. Now humanity was offering to negotiate, and the aliens weren't sure if this was mercy or another trap. "Honored delegates," President Lim Su began, her voice carrying the same gentle tone that had once convinced them humans were harmless traitors. "We come here today to discuss the future of galactic relations." High Commander Vextar's wings twitched nervously. "You mean to discuss our surrender terms?" "Surrender?" President Lim Su looked genuinely confused. "Why would we want anyone to surrender? We're here to talk about friendship." The word friendship now carried a completely different meaning in coalition chambers. They had learned that human friendship meant being studied, cataloged, and prepared for like specimens in a laboratory. "What are your demands?" asked Crystal Singer Jara, her body flickering between colors of fear and resignation. Admiral Song Ji stepped forward. "We don't have demands. We have offers." She activated a holographic display that showed the current state of coalition space. Red zones marked areas where human defensive actions had eliminated coalition military presence. Green zones showed regions where coalition civilians continued their daily lives, completely unharmed by the war. "As you can see," Admiral Song Ji explained, "we've been very careful to avoid civilian targets. Our conflict has been purely with coalition military forces." Commander Seth hissed softly. "You destroyed our fleets, our bases, our weapons factories. How is this avoiding civilians?" "We targeted military assets that posed a threat to human colonies," Dr. Park Hana replied pleasantly. "We made sure civilian populations were evacuated before any operations. No coalition civilian has been harmed during this conflict." This was true, but it made the coalition representatives even more uncomfortable. The fact that humans could eliminate their military capabilities while protecting civilian populations showed a level of precision and planning that was deeply unsettling. "What do you want from us?" High Commander Vextar asked bluntly. President Lim Su smiled brighter. "We want what we've always wanted, to be part of the galactic community, to trade, to learn, to make friends." "But on your terms," Crystal Singer Jara said bitterly. "Well, yes," President Lim Su agreed cheerfully. "When someone declares war on you and tries to force you back to your home system, it does change the relationship dynamic." She gestured to Admiral Song Ji, who brought up a new display showing proposed changes to galactic law and territory. "We're suggesting some modifications to current coalition policies," Admiral Song Ji explained. "First, human colonies will be recognized as sovereign territory with full rights to self-defense and expansion." "You want unlimited expansion rights," Commander Seth translated. "We want the same rights every other species has," Dr. Park Hana corrected. "The right to settle unclaimed worlds and defend our people." Second, Admiral Song Ji continued, "Human trade vessels will have unrestricted access to all coalition space lanes and markets." "You want to flood our space with your spy ships?" High Commander Vextar accused. "We want normal trade relationships," President Lim Su said with apparent hurt in her voice. "Though I understand why you might be suspicious. Trust takes time to rebuild." The coalition representatives exchanged glances. They were beginning to understand that humanity's definition of normal was very different from everyone else's. Third, Admiral Song Ji went on. "The coalition will establish joint defense agreements with human forces to maintain galactic peace." "You want us to accept human military oversight," Crystal Singer Jara said flatly. "We want to help keep the peace," Dr. Park Hana explained. "Humans have proven quite effective at resolving conflicts quickly and with minimal civilian casualties." President Lim Su leaned forward with apparent sincerity. "We believe that many galactic conflicts could be avoided if all species better understood each other. Humans are very good at understanding others." The coalition representatives shuddered at this suggestion. They now knew exactly how thorough human understanding could be. And if we refuse these offers? Commander Seth asked. Admiral Song Ji's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes became cooler. Then we'll continue operating under current conditions. Human colonies will maintain their current defense postures, human trade will continue through established channels, and human military forces will remain active in their current positions. What she didn't say was that current positions meant human forces were now stationed throughout coalition space, hidden but ready. The war might be over, but humanity had no intention of giving up the strategic advantages they had gained. You're not really offering us a choice, High Commander Vextar observed. Of course you have a choice, President Lim Su said warmly. You can choose to work with us as friends and partners, or you can choose to maintain the current situation. Both options are perfectly acceptable to humanity. Dr. Park Hana pulled out a small device and set it on the table. We've prepared some documents outlining the proposed agreements. They're written in all major coalition languages, and we've included detailed explanations of human intentions and expectations. Crystal Singer Jara examined the device suspiciously. What makes you think we'll trust any document you provide? Because, President Lim Su said gently, humans always keep their word. When we say we want to be friends, we mean it. When we promise to protect our allies, we do it. When we offer fair treatment, we deliver it. Commander Seth's tongue flicked out nervously. And when you declare someone an enemy? President Lim Su's smile never wavered. We haven't declared anyone an enemy. The coalition declared war on us, remember? We simply defended ourselves. The aliens were silent as they processed this. 3 months of devastating military defeats, and humanity still maintained they had just been defending themselves. It was a chilling reminder of what human defense looked like. How do we know you won't use your intelligence network against us if we agree? High Commander Vextar asked. Our intelligence network? Dr. Park Hana looked confused. You mean our cultural exchange programs and trade relationships? Those will continue as normal. Humans like to stay informed about their friends. The coalition representatives realized they would never be free of human surveillance. Whether they agreed to the new terms or not, humans would continue watching, learning, and preparing. The only difference would be whether this happened with official cooperation or unofficial infiltration. We need time to consider these proposals, Crystal Singer Jara said finally. Of course, President Lim Su agreed. Take all the time you need. We're very patient. As the human delegation left the chambers, they passed a group of young coalition citizens who had gathered to see the legendary humans who had defeated their military. The children looked curious and slightly fearful. President Lim Su stopped and smiled at them. Hello there, she said warmly. Would you like to learn about Earth? We have wonderful stories about human children and their adventures. The young aliens looked to their parents, who nodded nervously. As President Lim Su began telling them about human fairy tales and games, Admiral Song Ji and Dr. Park Hana watched with amusement. Starting early, aren't we? Admiral Song Ji murmured. Cultural exchange is so important, Dr. Park Hana replied, quietly. Children are naturally curious. They ask such interesting questions. President Lim Su finished her story and waved goodbye to the young aliens, who waved back with obvious delight. As the human delegation walked away, the coalition representatives watched through the chamber windows. They're doing it again, Commander Seth said quietly. Making friends, learning about us, and we're going to let them. High Commander Vextar replied with resignation, because the alternative is worse. Within a week, the coalition formally accepted humanity's offers of friendship. Trade agreements were signed, defense pacts were established, and cultural exchange programs were expanded. To outside observers, It looked like the galaxy had achieved a new era of peace and cooperation. The humans smiled and welcomed their new partners with genuine warmth. They really did want to be friends with everyone in the galaxy. They just wanted to be friends on their own terms, with their own definitions of what friendship meant. And now, finally, the galaxy understood what human friendship looked like when you were wise enough not to declare war on it first.